Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome Lindiwe. Lindiwe is a lecturer at the Faculty of ICT, but she's also a PhD student at the University of Pretoria. So, Lindiwe, it's over to you to share with us the lessons that you have learned.
Okay, thank you, Mari. And good day, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Anyway, Mari have already introduced me, so I don't need to go to that. The topic of my presentation today is the lesson learned from designing a prototype for a three-dimensional immersive learning experience. So to summarize this, I'll be referring to this prototype throughout my presentation as a 3D ILE. So what I'm about to present now is the lessons that I have learned through my study while I was designing and developing a 3D ILE prototype. And hopefully this might help someone who wants to design like a similar project in the future. So the first lesson is the importance of defining clear objectives. For me to define like clear objectives, I have to answer the following questions like, what problem am I trying to solve with this prototype? What is the primary goal of this prototype? Am I trying to validate a concept? Is it about teaching and learning or its functionality? And also, who is the target audience of this prototype? And the last question that I had to answer was what resources do I need to create this prototype? And for me to address all these questions, I have adopted a design thinking approach, because design thinking, it's a non-linear, iterative, and problem-solving approach that makes emphasis on understanding users and their needs. So actually that really helped, because the participants were lecturers who have knowledge on online learning and teaching. I have also worked with instructional designers and technical staff, because they have much knowledge on the resources and the cost. They actually even recommended additional resources that I could look into, and also provided information on the existing resources that the university had that I could use. So this actually helped. And the second lesson is setting a realistic expectations. You know, you can have your solid plans, but anything can happen at any time. So one need to set realistic expectations. So there's a long list of realistic expectations that one could set, but I'll focus on these three because I want to share my own experience. I will start with the cost. Initially, when I started with the design and development of my prototype, the PC that I was using managed to handle that, but the more the prototype expanded, then it became a problem because it will crash every day. And one day it stopped working completely. Luckily I had backup, so I have to go and buy like a high performance PC that could handle the pressure of the development that I was busy with. And that came with an additional cost that I didn't plan to. And secondly, this prototype is meant for online learning. So I had to put it like in an online server so that the participant can access it through the web browser and test it from there. And that came with me having to buy a package, like a domain name, the server space, and also the database. So when I did a research on which package will work best with this type of prototype, the answers that came out was like, I have to buy a Windows package, which I did. After uploading the files of my prototype there and tried to test it, half of the things were not working, like narrations, videos, and animation. I spent a week trying to redesign things, change the code. That also didn't. And now I have to look for option B, which is purchasing a Linux package. And surprisingly, everything worked. I was so happy, I even forgot that I had spent the previous week spending money on buying the wrong package. And also, at the very end, I had to share the URL address with the participants so that they can evaluate it. And all the participants that were based in UP, they couldn't access the prototype because it was blocked by the firewall there. So basically, it viewed it like as a harmful site. So through the help of my supervisors, we have to contact the technical staff from there to help us unblock the URL address so that the participant from there can evaluate the prototype. And us getting feedback, it didn't happen overnight, so we have to wait. And within that waiting period, there are participants that decided to withdraw from the study. And after I've gathered all the data, I realized that it's not sufficient. And guess what? We had to add more time because we have to start recruiting again. And also, I had to give my new participant enough time in their busy schedule to evaluate the prototype. So you can see there are a lot of changes that happened that was not part of my plan. And also the process of applying for ethics took longer than I expected. After I got ethics approval, trying to get all my participants to participate at a specific time, things didn't go that well, especially with focus group discussions, because I have to get all the participants in one meeting. The schedules were clashing, and half of my participants were based outside South Africa. There were also issues of the time zone. It came to a point where I have to break the focus group discussion into part one to accommodate such a group of participants, and part two and meet them to discuss the same thing. But the take away from everything that I've said in this slide is anything can happen. One should try to find your way out of a challenging situation and keep moving. And that's exactly what I've done. And another lesson is using a user-centered strategy. User-centered design is one of the fundamental principles of design thinking. So this approach involves one immersing yourself into the environment, experiences, and perspective of users in order to understand their needs. And what I've realized is one interview is not enough. In my case, I had to conduct unstructured interviews, I had to conduct semi-structured interviews, focus group discussion. When I was done designing and developing a prototype, I had to do heuristic evaluation using a prototype. So you can see I've used multiple methods. And also, using a user-centered design can help with a problem description, because your focus will be solely based on the needs of the users. So that guides your design and development. And also the user-centric approach encourages out-of-the-box thinking and innovation, because when you try to design something with the user in mind and their problems, definitely try consider all possible ideas in order to address their needs. So it more unleashes some creativity in you. And another lesson that I have learned is adopting an iterative approach, which is also one of the fundamental principles of design thinking. So I have iterative cycles of design, development, testing, and gradually improving my prototype. And what I have learned through this process is to embrace my failure through that iterative process, which with each cycle, I will uncover design flaws. There will be errors in its functionality that needs to be fixed. And also with each iteration, there's a lesson that I have learned from it and making necessary adjustment. And the overall process made me acquire new skills and knowledge that I didn't have before I started this process, because there's some things that I have to learn to do while I was designing and developing this prototype. So the lesson from here is one should learn to embrace their failure and learn from it. And my last slide is about reflection and learning. So I have used the method of a research diary. It's more like having a journal where you write your thoughts. So with each and every meeting that I have with participants, I'll record my thoughts, the observations, the insights, and do the reflection. And also, I have used the research diary way beyond just creating a prototype, because including the meetings with my supervisors, I will write everything down exactly the way it happened and in the same day, so that I can actually go back and critically analyze things and see where I need to make adjustment. Because to me, if I didn't have this research diary, I don't think I was going to recall all the events that took place, because there were many. And also the research diary allowed me to monitor my design and development journey, to also identify the successes and the failures and make necessary adjustment in order to have the desired output. So this actually brings me to the end of my presentation. And thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I will gladly like to take them now.
Thank you, Lindiwe. Is there any questions that you have for her? I see there's a few comments in the chat.
Okay. I can't see the chat, so
No,
if
there's
there's
no
something
questions. You can stop sharing
Okay.
actually your screen. Marilee said it's an interesting study. Good luck with the rest. And that the research diary is such a good idea. Jurita says, well done, Lindiwe. I'm a huge fan of design thinking and user centricity. All the best for the rest of your PhD journey. Nancy said, great work. And Carla is giving you an applause.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there any questions you want to ask, Lindiwe? No questions? Maybe I can, Elaine is also applauding you. Maybe I can just ask you a difficult question, and this time you don't have a week to think about this. You must answer me now.
Okay. No
So
problem.
you said that you had this issue with time and going back to and find more and recruit more. Let's just focus on a possible PhD student. What can they do to sort of absorb that additional time in their studies and still finish on time? What do you think? What type of advice you can give a possible student?
So the good thing about being a PhD student, especially in my case where I have to be doing write-up and also developing something and testing it, while I'm stuck with trying to get participants and getting data and extending time, my study didn't wait there. Actually, that gave me more time to go back and do and focus solely on my write-up. So it's multitasking. By doing it that way, when I have to go back to the design process, I've already pushed a lot of work from the writing side, which actually worked for me to like do a lot of things at the same time.
Okay, thank you. And Lindiwe, can I ask you, because if everybody is now reconnecting, that's okay, because we are at the end of the session. Do you just want to put your camera on? Is it possible to put your camera on? That we can just take a snap of you?
Can you see me? Yeah, hello?
Yes, we can see you. So let me just see if it looks fine. Yeah, it looks beautiful. All right, thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you in the next session. Thank you, Lindiwe, for sharing your lessons that you have learned in your study. And then just be reminded, you can keep your eyes on the chat every time at the end of a session. We tell you where to find the links for the prizes and the lucky draws. Some of them is closing now at 1 o'clock, and then there's quite a few sessions left, and then we'll have the closing at 2:15 this afternoon. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.